Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Hey, what's up, Lock Shoppers? Happy Friday to you all. Let's do this. Huss and JBM with you for the next 50 or so here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Of course, the Lock Shop brought to you by Coolbet Canada. Was a big night for lock shoppers at Coolbet last night. We hit the partner parlay. We hit the super boost on the Kyle Connor goal in overtime last night. I see Uke. Great game last night, Winnipeg fans. The Connor OT winner cashed the super boost, so not too upset. Let's build some weekend winners, shall we? That's exactly what we're planning on doing. There's only one game in the National tonight, Columbus and Pittsburgh. But we will take a look ahead to a real busy Saturday, maybe put something together that can be up in the exclusives of the combo cards up until tomorrow. Of course, March Madness is well underway. We are into day 2 right now. We'll kind of talk about yesterday's action and certainly get into some picks for it later on today. We'll give you an update on the Valspar and more. But shout out to everybody in chat. Great to see both Winnipeg and Edmontoners in last night. Lots to dive into, which we'll get to in a minute from the Edmonton-Winnipeg game. But, Jake, what's up? How you holding up? You got the Leafs hat on tonight. Your Leafs got a win last night. That's maybe making you in a bit better of a mood considering it was a real up-and-down start. Shall we say that to the madness yesterday for us?
Yeah, I mean, my madness has been pretty poor, but the Leafs at least have been bailing me out this week. They there was a headline I read today. It was something along the lines of like, a week ago the Leafs were in a terrible spot and the world was crumbling around them, and it looked like they were going to lose grip on the Atlantic, and all of a sudden, 4 days later, they picked up 3 wins Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. They're now tied with Florida at the top of maybe Florida picked up a win yesterday. Whatever it is, they're right up at the top of the Atlantic right now, in a really good race. Like I know I talk about it. I feel like every time we're on the Lock Shop, this NHL playoff race. As much as I don't love the format of the playoffs, the race is going to be incredible down the stretch in both the East and the West.
Yeah, listen, for sure. And listen, I know we bitch a lot about, oh my God, it's, the divisional, setup. Like, it'll really suck if we have Edmonton, LA, and I'm sure everyone in Edmonton feels the same way. Like, we're really going to do this again. But, if you did have it on the 1 to 8, as of right now, it would be Edmonton, Colorado, which would actually be an incredible first-round series, too. I mean, the bottom line is there's a lot of good teams that are in the playoffs. You're going to have a few wild first-round matchups. This year in the West, it looks like it's going to be Dallas and Colorado in the first round, and then in the East, it's going to be whoever doesn't win the Atlantic. Right now, the Leafs and the Panthers have the identical record, 42-24-3, 87 points through 69 games. And then you got Tampa that has a game in hand and is 2 points back. So basically, it's a 3-way dead heat in the Atlantic. And if you win, you're going to get the likes of the Senators or the Canadiens or the Rangers. If you lose, you're playing one of your other 2 teams that you're basically tied with. So listen, right. The stakes are high right now. I should get to the Winnipeg-Edmonton game right off the bat. And listen, I'm not, I'm a Winnipeg guy here for those of you that are on the Edmonton side of things. I'll be first up to say that game, I don't know how much we're going to really take from that game. I mean, when the Oilers go in without Leon Draisaitl, there's already somewhat of an asterisk. And then with McDavid leaving the way they did, like, I got to tell you, I was really impressed with what the Oilers did in the third period. I mean, the way the Jets have played this year, when you give them a 1-goal lead in the third period, it's pretty much turn out the lights. And without McDavid, they really pushed the pace and deserved to score that goal to get that one to OT. Now, and listen, Edmonton's probably one of the few teams that you can put in Winnipeg's category with when you get one, you're usually getting two. The Jets have only been to maybe 1 or 2 max shootouts this year because usually they're ending in an OT. And man, Kyle Connor, that goal last night, I mean, shows why he is one of the preeminent scorers right now. But listen, I mean, I left that game just hoping that McDavid is okay. Because let's face it, I mean, this Oiler team is built around 2 superstar players in Leon Draisaitl and in Connor McDavid. And when those guys are out, you would think that they're done. And they weren't last night. And they got a point out of it. And it was bizarre, too. I mean, a big collision on Stuart Skinner late in the game. And Pickard had to come in with, 5-6 minutes left and ended up finishing up the game. And tough spot for him to come in, going up against a team like the Jets, in a game that was really pretty much hanging in the balance. And then, of course, in overtime. Now, I know that the guys at Edmonton are going to be all over this pretty much all day, waiting for breaking news on McDavid's status, but we hope that was maybe a little bit more precautionary and he will be back in. Like the cheap shot from Morrissey. I've seen the Dave Staples Zapruder film, and I don't know. I think that might be a little bit.
I mean, I did catch a highlight this morning. Corey Perry just can opening Nikolai Ehlers late in the game. What was that?
Well, Corey, listen, and I know there's some people like, oh, you got to give him the embellishment. Corey Perry, listen, he will do some good things you would think in the playoffs, or you have to hope. Mm-hmm. He also does just stupid things. And why his stick was anywhere near Nikolai Ehlers with 2:30 left in a tie game, it's inexcusable from any player, but especially a veteran player like that. So
in the shoulder area too, like why'd your stick even that high to begin with? Like where he caught him was way up around his shoulder pads. Like what kind of wild? I don't know. It was a wild move. Like sure you can say embellishment on the Ehlers, but at the same time, like Corey Perry has a reputation, folks. Like let's not get it twisted. You're doing something stupid late in the game. Probably deserved to go to the penalty box. Oilers killed it off, got their point. But yeah, like I don't know. It's this Oilers situation right now it's getting a lot of news. Like McDavid and Draisaitl both going for imaging. Like how serious are we looking at here with these two guys? I think someone said in the chat the second OT line was Nurse, Wollman, Arvidsson. Like it's crazy what the Oilers look like without these two guys. And you can hope for Edmonton's sake and for hockey fans' sake, these guys are going to be ready to go when the playoffs roll around here in, about a month or so.
Smitty the Welder, it was a stupid play by Perry, but what a brutal dive. Let's not blame the victim here, folks. Let's not blame the victim. Let's just look at the perpetrator of the crime and say,
a lot of floppy in the chat. I mean, listen, I wasn't watching the game. It was a highlight I saw earlier.
Well, and Reg Dunlop, this is a tough scene for the new prime minister. The curse of Carney starts. So let me get this straight. He shows up yesterday, goes onto the ice. We immediately find out that Draisaitl is doubtful for the game. Then he goes to the game. McDavid gets hurt, leaves the game, and
Skinner too.
They showed and Skinner as well. Listen, that you never want to have this happen. But at this point of the season, like the one thing that the Oilers have going for them is that they're not Vancouver or Calgary or one of these teams. They're comfortably enough in a playoff spot that, if McDavid or Draisaitl has to miss a week or two, no big deal. I mean, they'll still presumably end up in that 2-3 series, probably against LA if Vegas ends up winning the division. But it's all about game 83 for this team. And I mean, listen, if you want to look at glass half full, if this is somewhat short term. The amount of burden that those guys carry for Edmonton, if you had told me that, hey, you know what, McDavid and Draisaitl are going to miss 7 to 10 games, or 7 to 10 days, a couple weeks. Listen, they might lose a couple more games, but there could be some benefit come playoff time to get, some rest, recuperation, some healing for those guys before they try to run the gauntlet like they did to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final last night. So that was no Picasso. The shots were really low. There was it was a little sloppy at times, but I mean, the big story coming out of the game right now isn't really the final score, isn't Corey Perry or Ehlers or even Kyle Connor's winner. It's the status of Connor McDavid. So I think regardless of whether you have any skin in the game, whether you're an Oiler guy or frankly an Oiler opponent like we were last night, I mean, you just want those guys to be able to go and play. And then, it took a little bit of the juice out of the game not having Draisaitl there in the first place. And I can tell you, I mean, it's nice, I guess, from a Jets perspective. They were able to get the 2 points. They end up making up a point on Dallas. They've got a 10-point lead now with 12 games remaining in the first. But I don't think, when we're having the fun banter between Jets and Oiler fans and the Lock Shop chat at EST and WST, we won't be looking at last night as any big statement game for Winnipeg. I mean, hey, they've made their statement all year long. They are the first team in the West to get to 100 points. But I think, as we all know, the real statements are going to need to be made in the playoffs. And fingers crossed for everyone, for hockey, that both 29 and 97 will be good to go. It was a wild night last night in the National Hockey League. And Jake, man, how about those Calgary Flames? Not that this is going to make Edmonton people feel good, but we were on them on the partner parlay. They were down 1, they were down 3-1, and then all of a sudden, rising from the ashes, Calgary comes back with, I believe, 4 in the third period to win in regulation. And at that point, I mean, we knew when you, Patty, and I made those picks yesterday, Calgary was the really tough one. I mean, I had Colorado. They were up 3-0 before the game even started. They cruised against Ottawa. And then it was a matter of waiting for Utah. But, I mean, just speaking of the partner parlay, but also about the playoff race, an absolutely huge 2 points for the Flames on the road coming back in the third period. And those 2 points could be the difference from being waiting for the draft for 2 months or potentially getting in the 2-hole, because, of course, you knew that there was going to be a 3-point game between St. Louis and Vancouver. That's exactly what happened. And for the first time, we've got St. Louis actually waking up in the morning in that 8th and final playoff spot. But Calgary's got, a game in hand on Vancouver, 2 on St. Louis. They're 2 back. So, I mean, this is much like we were just talking about the Atlantic Division. This wild card race right now with Vancouver, St. Louis, and Calgary is basically a dead heat right now when you account for games in hand.
Yeah, it was a crazy night. I'm sitting there, I'm like up to my nose in March Madness, and I'm keeping an eye on what's going on with the parlay, because I'm watching Calgary's, in a bit of trouble. I'm like, oh no, this isn't looking good. I'm feeling bad for Patty because I felt like we kind of forced him into that bigger dog, and I took a bit of a easier route with the -170 Utah game that was coming up a little later, and I'm like, oh, we might not even get there. And then sure enough, they tied it up, and then the next time I checked, it was 5-3 final, and Calgary had won it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, boys. At that point, Colorado was already crushing Ottawa. That game was really out of reach early, so that was never a concern. And it was all up to Utah late. We found a way to get it done at 7-1, I think we got around us. Really nice parlay for us. And like you said, this race is just getting going here in the West. St. Louis 77, Vancouver 76, Flames 75. We did get that special up for the playoffs, Huss. I know you probably talked about it on WST a couple days ago, but I'll mention it here. Canadian NHL teams to make the playoffs. Right now, if you think 6 Canadian teams can get in, so that's really, probably both Ottawa and Montreal, Toronto gets in, Winnipeg, Edmonton. If you think one of Vancouver or Calgary gets in with all those other ones in playoff spots, it is plus 290 right now for 6 teams. All 7 to make it is plus 5,000, which is pretty juicy. I don't know if I'd go that far at 50 to 1, but the 3 to 1 is not bad.
For the 7 to hit, that would mean Minnesota would need to fall out of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
St. Louis wouldn't make it, and you're basically talking about Calgary and Vancouver getting the 2 wildcard spots. So I think it's safe to say that that's not going to happen. But the 5.5, the 6 Canadian teams is totally live with what's happened right now. And I mean, basically, that's a bet on Ottawa holding their spot and Montreal winning the East, and then one of Vancouver or Calgary getting the 8th spot. And
right.
As I said, it's basically a dead heat. Like St. Louis has that spot, but they're 2 points up on Calgary. Calgary's got 2 games in hand. They're 1 point up on Vancouver. Vancouver's got 1 game in hand. So for all intents and purposes, they are in a sprint right now for anywhere from 12 to 14 games. And whoever plays the best over this period from today till the end of game 82 is going to be the team that wins it. But yeah, plus 290 right now on Canadian teams to make the playoffs. And while we're at this, let's just recap the to make the playoffs odds right now over at Coolbet. Kind of interesting that you've got Montreal at plus 175. They're the most likely team right now of those teams chasing in the East to make it. And you're still almost getting 2 to 1. Mm-hmm. The New York Islanders have emerged after their win last night, although Montreal got a point. The Islanders are next in the East at plus 200. The New York Rangers coming off 2 brutal home losses at MSG after it seemed like they'd sort of maybe turned it around, plus 375 for the Eastern teams. Now for the West, the Blues and Canucks are in a dead heat after last night, as we mentioned. Plus 175 for St. Louis, plus 175 for Vancouver, and then Calgary's plus 230, and that's come down a bit. I think they were closer to 3, or maybe it was plus 320. But man, big 2 points in New York and New Jersey in their last 2 games has made the Flames situation a little bit better. The Blues, I think, have a little bit of an advantage from the schedule. And I think partly this Flames schedule is the reason why they are at plus 230 right now. But plus 175 for St. Louis or Vancouver for that spot, plus 230 for Calgary and the Utah Hockey Club. 7 to 1 right now as they're sort of chasing. By the way, did you see how, I mean, there was so much riding on that Utah game for us with the partner parlay and a few others. Did you see how that ended up? What happened at the end of that game between Buffalo and Utah?
I saw a clip. Did Buffalo score on their own empty net?
That is exactly right. So it's this Buffalo, is the baby. Most Sabres thing. It's 3-2. Buffalo is pressing. They are pulling the goalie on a delayed penalty. So they're going to be able to go up 6-on-4. And you hear Rob Ray in the broadcast going, just give them the puck. Like, they just want to be able to stop the puck, get it done. Well, no, they decide to pass it back off the boards. It's missed. It hits the far boards and drifts right into their own net to make it 4-2. Empty netter, done deal, 5-2 for Utah, which was nice. And you know what? I have to give a shout out. I'm not sure if he's in the chat, but our pal, the Gitch. Gitchy came through last night, and he is a man who loves to take big swings, and you won't see many bigger swings than this. A 126 to 1 parlay that he cashed, basically listening to the lock shop and kind of our leans and picks from last night. He had Florida on the money line. And by the way, to win this bet, I mean, with all the overtime last night was even more incredible, but good on him. Florida to win, Colorado to win, Washington to win. And then they moved on to, I'm just running through this. He had to get, so the Leafs, Utah, Calgary, the Jets, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. All of those teams, an 8-gamer ended up at plus 12,667, and a $5 bet paid $638 last night. And he didn't stop there. He also hit a 16-to-1er with just a few less of those games on it tonight. So there's your win of the week in the lock shop for our buddy the Gitch, Sean Gitchy, and I'm sure he'll be. He would have been a fun guy last night at the Steinbach Bar. I have a feeling that because I have a feeling the minute that game ended, that's probably directly where he went to celebrate it.
Yeah, you should call him Gitchy. Yeah. That's a good dub there. So, attaboy Gitch.
Tonight, there's only one game, and it's Columbus at Pittsburgh. Columbus is minus 101. Pittsburgh's minus 116. The total for this game is 6. We'll touch on that in just a minute. It's funny. The total for this game is 6. The under is even money. The over is minus 122. Remember back when Columbus used to score goals, Jake? They were one of the highest scoring teams in the league. They've scored 1 goal in their last 4 games. They've lost 5 in a row, but a 1-0 overtime loss to the Panthers last night. They finally got a goal in their last game, but lost 2-1 to Jersey. And this is all in a homestand. Like, they've been 4 straight games at home, 1 total goal. Before that, a 4-0 shutout loss to the Rangers. Before that, a 4-0 shutout loss to the Vegas Golden Knights. And listen, as we talk about these standings, the one team that we were going through the odds that we didn't see there is Columbus. And that part of the reason for that is, I mean, I guess right now they're still 3 points out of a playoff spot with the even amount of games played with Montreal. Problem is they now got to jump the Rangers, jump the Islanders to get in there. But you're not winning any games, never mind making a playoff spot if you can't score. But it's just crazy, man, because the one thing we talked about Columbus all year long, Jake, was that these games are crazy. They're winning 6-5. They're losing 7-6. I mean, they were scoring like with the top teams in the league. They were giving up a lot. Now, as we get closer to the playoffs, this team just simply cannot find a way to buy a goal. And a 4-game losing streak on home ice has really dimmed their playoff chances. And I mean, I know Pittsburgh's had a really rough season. Pittsburgh's actually only 5 points back at Columbus. So they got to find a way to figure out some offense right now, and that hasn't been something we've talked about Columbus all year.
Yeah, listen, they got Jenner back not long ago. They lost Monahan, and I know that's not like a huge difference, but, it changes the way the lineup looks, and, yeah, they've struggled a bit here. But even, I think even like 2 weeks ago, they were still doing all right. But, yeah, it seems like the well's almost just run dry with Columbus, and they're slowly but surely falling out of this race, not down to the, they're behind the Rangers, the Islanders, and then, still chasing Montreal and Ottawa in that wild card race. It feels like they're running out of time. 5 straight losses now, 3-5-2 in their last, 3-6-1 in their last 10. Yeah, probably not buying much Columbus stock as it currently stands. I don't know. It's unfortunate too, because I feel like a lot of the season felt like it was like, we're doing it for Johnny, we're doing it for the Gaudreaus. Like there's been a lot of that, and it was tragic what happened for that family, and they've really like rallied behind one another, and it's unfortunate that it feels like they're going to come up short of probably the ultimate goal of making the playoffs, and something that they would have loved to do. For Johnny, for the Gaudreaus.
Well, it would have been the great story in hockey this year.
Right.
I mean, if Columbus was able to do it, this is a team everyone thought they'd be probably bottom 3 in the league and picking in the lottery again. And they've fought so hard, but as I said, they just can't buy a goal. Cowboy mentioning Monahan did practice on Wednesday. So that is nice. Oh, speaking of Cowboy, I saw Cowboy at the bar a couple nights ago playing pool. Cowboy pulled a 5-gamer 13-1 last night. Jets money line. Nice move, Cowboy, on that, because the other 4 were all in reg. Utah, Carolina, Vegas, and LA, which is wild because I think those might be the only 4 regulation games that happened last night. Everything else seemed to be a 3-point game. I guess the Leafs won in regulation, and Calgary did as well. But there was a ton of extra points being thrown out. And people are wondering, why isn't the Gitch on the DGen den? We'll have to lean on Gitch to get in there. I'm not sure if he understands how the world of Discord works yet. We may need a tutorial for him.
What's Cowboys' pool game look like? Is any good?
He's in the league. The bar that I hang out at all the time.
Okay.
They have a league that goes in on Tuesday or on Wednesday. So I'm usually facing the other way at the TVs with whatever games are on, but I do get some updates, and he's always there repping the lock shop and WST. I always appreciate it. It was good.
I'll tell you right now, I'm a big fan of a pool table at a bar. If there's a pool table at a bar and I can manage to get on it, that's where you'll find me. Like that is my go-to.
How about 4?
Yeah, well, 4 is always nice too. I've been to some of those billiard, halls, and there's like 30, and then there's a couple TVs, and that's honestly good enough for me. I love to play a little bit of pool and have some beers and watch the games.
Well, so. I'll say this, and I'll just say this, no free ads, but this spot, which I frequent a lot, I'll just throw that out. That would be a second home. Over the last, they blew up. They had a couple golf simulators that weren't working. They blew it all out, put brand new TVs everywhere. And the biggest key, center ice package so we can get every game. And now, because we gave them a hard time about why do you guys have the package if people don't know how to put the games on or what the heck's going on. And now they are just running a perfect ship when it comes to a sports fan. We kind of go, hey, what games do you guys want on? Hey, these are the top games of the week. We usually get 3 different ones on right there all around. So anyway, shout out to our friends over at Win. By the way, speaking of shout outs, to everyone that joined us last night, we had a blast for that Oiler Jet game out at the BP up at Garden City. And I know there's a few lock shoppers that showed up there as well, and a ton of WSTers. So listen, just before we move on, because I want to get your thoughts on the madness, and we'll get some picks for this afternoon. With everything being so quiet tonight, we've got a huge schedule tomorrow in the NHL. Now, there's a bunch of afternoon games.
Plus, I just want to let you know, I talked to Ev. We got some early lines up for the NHL tomorrow because I knew we could do it. I knew there was a way. So they're up there now. You'll see, I don't know, a handful of them, if not all of them. There's a ton in there now.
Oh my God, I just had to press refresh. And we are good to go. And I guess are the Oil in action tomorrow? Yeah, they're playing the Kraken at home. And the Kraken at plus 170. We won't put this on, but I am interested in these numbers. Oilers minus 200, considering, listen, if you're without Draisaitl and McDavid, which is obviously a possibility, that's something that, when I think you'll probably see some people just taking flyers on the Kraken. But as I said, I was really impressed with the way the Oilers fought back in that game in the third period. All right, Evdog has put them all up tomorrow. So Jake, let's just take a quick look. If you've got a game or two that's a nice lean, I wouldn't mind putting something that we can get it up over the course of the for the next little bit. Minnesota's minus 154 at home against Buffalo. That is certainly, I think, the go zone. The Carolina Hurricanes at LA. LA is one of the best home teams in the league. The Canes, I think Cowboy was
8 in a row they won.
Somebody, 8 straight wins right now. They're playing some incredible hockey. So there you got, a great matchup if you want to jump in. And man, it's a good thing we can get this up today because there's so many afternoon games tomorrow. Huge games kicking off at noon. Man, Canucks Rangers. It feels like a playoff game for both of those teams, Jake. Vancouver coming off their win, and of course, this is JT Miller. going up against his old team. I think I like the Rangers in that game, considering the fact that they've just lost 2, playing for their playoff lives. And I have a feeling that there'll be a little bit more jump in the Rangers game if they are at all a team and not just a collection of individuals going up against their old squad. Minnesota and Rangers sort of jump out at me right off the bat. What about you later on in the slate?
Yeah, I don't know how much I love doing this, but I don't mind the Kings at home. I mean, like you said, they've been one of those dominant home teams this year. Hurricanes are bound to lose. I know it's a weird thing to say when a team's won 8 in a row. Like, you don't really want to fade a team that's that hot, but if you can pick the spot at the right time, you're going to get some pretty solid value. -103 as a slight home underdog for the Kings, I don't mind. Hard to pick some of these games. I was like Flames Islanders, both teams battling. Like, listen, this might be something we do separately. It feels like a lot of 3-point games tomorrow. Like, I'm staring down the barrel of some 3-point games. Vancouver, New York feels like a 3-point game. Flames Islanders feels like a 3-point game. Panthers, maybe not as much. Capitals, Sens Devils wouldn't shock me either. Sens are, they got smoked last night. They probably want to bounce back. Devils end up losing to the Flames. And both teams in a spot where, a point's not going to hurt them. So, yeah, some good spots there. I think Kings is the one that sticks out to me if we pick the right spot, like I said, against the Canes. My Leafs brain wants to fade Tampa and Florida so bad, but I think we just stay away from those two. Don't mind the Leafs either in Nashville. Like, they're rolling right now. Nashville's got nothing to play for. I don't mind them on -147 there on the road.
Remus just sent me Ryan O'Reilly's post-game comments from yesterday. I mean, they are – I don't know whether you want to call it checked out or just defeated, but they're in a bad spot. Well, okay, what about this? Tampa -122 in Utah. The Wild -154, and the Kings. It's an afternoon delight, all games in the afternoon. And the reason I say that, because if we play those 3, that's +492. So we'll get a nice boost on that one. Wild, Lightning, and Kings.
Mm-hmm.
But then I like what you were talking about before. Let's do a 3-gamer, 3-point game.
Okay.
We go Vancouver Rangers.
Yep.
Draw. Calgary Islanders. Draw.
Mm-hmm.
And what's another game that teams would not at all be? I mean, can Montreal get to OT with the Avalanche at home? Or do we like that Sens Devils game?
Oh, hold on. Maybe do we need 3 is the question. I know 3 is usually our go-to, but it's +1749 for just those 2. I'm pretty comfortable with those 2. Canucks, Rangers, Flames, Islanders, all teams that can use an extra point if it's on the table. Let's just go with that. And then we don't have to. Then we don't have to have a third on the card, and that could be an early cash. We might have a huge bankroll for the evening.
I love it. All right, so a 2-gamer, 2 games, 6 points given out. Vancouver Rangers, Calgary at Islanders. We're gonna go double draw. We'll put that.
And then you want Wild, Kings, Lightning. I got that right?
Yes. Wild, Kings at Lightning money line. So we'll throw those up in either the combo cards or the exclusives for tomorrow. All right, we're going to get to March Madness. Let me quickly give you an update from the Valspar and see what's going on. They, this is such a difficult course. 4 under par was the number yesterday. Guys have got it to 5 under, but holy smokes, who could have predicted who'd be at the top after seemingly being the worst player in the field last week, or one of them? Victor Hovland, a 4 under 67 today. And Vic is back. He's tied for the lead right now. Shane Lowry had a great round, 4 under. He's right there behind it, tied in third, along with Kashmir Keith Mitchell, who was 4 under yesterday. He's just getting out there right now. Jaeger a little later on. Willie Z, who we've got a piece of, he is at 2 under par. And how about our guy, Corey Connors? We used the 30% win boost on a Connors top 20. We've got him in at 27-1 to win the tournament. He is just 3 shots back right now in the clubhouse after a 69 at 2 under par. Xander Schauffele, who we touched late at 22-1. He's won 1 under for his round just through the first hole. He's at 2 under par right now. So he is in the mix. I saw Sahith Theegala whip his club today. He was not pleased, but he's 1 under. He'll be there. Sepp Straka, the top 20 machine, he's teeing off this afternoon. He's at 1 under par right now. And just perusing. Nikolai Højgaard, even par right now. He's just starting his round. We got a piece of him at 80-1. Spieth was -2 today. It looks like he's going to make the cut. He's at +1. And right now, it's projecting the cut line to be +1. That could change this afternoon depending on what happens. But the 2 overs, I need Luke Clanton. I need him to get a birdie in these final 3 holes if he wants to get to +1 and survive the day. Adam Scott as well. He's at +2 right now after his 74 yesterday, but a nice start with birdie. So looks like most of our guys are going to be playing the weekend. It's really tight. I mean, we're talking about a leader at 5 under par, the cut line at +1. So if you make the cut, everybody's live heading in, and might want to check out the odds after the second round because I have a feeling this is still going to be a really, really bunched up leaderboard. All right, Jake, let's get to March Madness.
Sorry, I had to go check this on the golf. Like I thought I saw Hovland pretty far down the list. And like you said, he had an awful week last week. Like you wouldn't want to get on a guy playing that poorly. I think 50-1 pre-tournament and sitting in a great spot right now. I mean, he's in the clubhouse at 5 under through 2 rounds. I mean,
and we talked about it. Like, even if like it could have been 100-1 and Vic, just the way he looked the last little bit seemed to be unbettable.
Yeah.
Like 10-1 to make the cut. Well, obviously not. When you're that talented, something's going to pop. And at such a challenging course like Copperhead, very cool to see Vic, who we all love, playing well. So, hey, we'll have a sweat on the weekend over at the Valspar. All right, March Madness. Just before, Jake, I turn it over to you with thoughts on yesterday and some thoughts for today. Here's the update from our bracket draft, our spread pick draft. So I had 3 of my 6 games go yesterday. I lost on High Point. I won on BYU. And that final pick that I was searching for, Utah State, what a terrible pick. They got
UCLA slaughtered them. I was saying the Mountain West does not perform well in this tournament. Like, I don't know what it is. I'm fading New Mexico today, though. Like, I don't trust the Mountain West at all.
So yeah, there we go with 1 and 2. I'm 1 and 2. I got Michigan State, UConn, Norfolk against the spread today. Jake is 2 and 1. Nice win on Gonzaga, never in doubt. A loss on Yale, that was a close one. And then how about McNeese, your final pick?
I'm 3 and 2. I have a bunch of my games went yesterday. I had Arkansas +4.5.
That happened already? Okay.
Yeah, that was yesterday. Gonzaga -5.5. They crushed. McNeese shut up Big Maple. That was all him. +7.5.
And Louisville.
And then I had Louisville first game of the day, and they got trounced by Creighton.
Okay, so Jake, sorry, I thought those were going today. So yeah, you're 3 and 2
right now. Like Mississippi State's in one right now with Baylor.
You could finish 10. 4 and 2. 4 and 2 with a win, Mississippi State by 1.5. And Patty is 2 and 2. Lost on UCSD by 0.5 point. That was
so
tough.
Brutal.
Nice win with Drake. They won outright.
They won outright.
They were 6.5 point dog. St. John's crushed. That was a win. They needed to cover 18.5. And Tennessee 18.5 was not a winner. They won by 15. Pat's got the Akron Zips +13.5 today, and Bama.
Bama was in tough early, Huss. Someone said
is that game already started?
They were down they were up 4 at the half against Robert Morris. The thing with Bama is, and this is what people have to keep in mind, they can score at will. They move at a very fast pace. You're going to see them get a lot of possessions. But they also give up points at a pretty high rate as well. Like, when you have a lot of possessions for your side, that means the other team gets a lot of possessions as well. And if you can't stop a team from scoring, and you're in a bit of trouble. So, yeah, Bama is on the ropes early, but still a lot of time left in that game with a whole half to go.
Yeah, so we've got 3 games underway right now. Mississippi State is actually down 8 right now to Baylor. Sorry, make that 6. They just got
they just cut the 6. I'm a big Josh Hubbard fan. This guy's 5'11", guard at a Mississippi State. He's been their entire offense this game. I'm hoping he can pull it through here for the Dogs.
Bama's up by 4 at halftime, 40-36 over Robert Morris. And then this Lipscomb team, 14 seed, hanging in with the heavily favored Iowa State Cyclones, 16-15. So a few ups, a few downs. The bracket is still somewhat intact. I've got the 3 of my 6 picks are still later on. I don't know, this taking the 28.5 with Norfolk State. That one might be a mistake. But UConn minus 4.5 and Michigan State minus 17.5 are on the card. But where are you at? What are you looking at later on today for a couple of best bets and what's already been a pretty interesting? I mean, I shouldn't say that. It was a lot of chalk yesterday. There was the McNeese State win. There was Drake. But we haven't had the massive upsets. And frankly, a lot of the good teams have just been cruising.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, if I'm looking at the slate here, I'll let you know what I'm in on right now. I like Colorado State. I just played them money line. That's minus 118 over Memphis. They're at 12, but like a slight favorite in this game over Memphis. I think people were a little upset with the ranking for them. So they'll have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. So that's at 2 Eastern. 1 Winnipeg, and noon out in Edmonton. Duke St. Mary's, it's hard to bet these big spreads, Huss. Like, some of them the cash yesterday, some of them came up just short. You know, I was trying to get in on maybe the first half numbers. That didn't really work well for me. So I'm having a hard time with the big spreads. I don't even want to force a pick there. I like Vandy out of the SEC plus 4.5 against St. Mary's. North Carolina, Mississippi. I don't mind SEC again with Ole Miss. I think a lot of people are high in North Carolina because they had a huge win in the first 4. I don't know if that necessarily means they're going to cruise here in the second round against an Ole Miss team who's much better than in the first 4. Grand Canyon, Maryland, I like the over in that game. Sorry, I'm kind of just going through each one. Norfolk State, that's your team. They're playing Florida. They're plus 28.5. Troy, Kentucky. Kentucky's a big over team, but they're volatile. Like, if they're missing shots, they could get in trouble with Troy. So maybe sprinkle the dog there. Already mentioned I don't like the Mountain West, so I'll probably ride with Marquette. Patty's on Akron a little later. I think there was a Patty brackets. I don't know if that one's already gone through or not. Bam was in that one. So if you didn't get on that one early, it's already off the board in the combo cards. Your UConn team, I think you got a better number on UConn. It's up to 6.5 now. What did you get? 4.5. Oh,
4.5.
Closing line value for you. Like UConn, I like the Big East. Xavier plays just after them. Like I said, I like the Big East. I wouldn't mind Xavier 4.5 and the money line. And then Michigan State plays later. Like I said, big spreads I'm not feeling a whole lot. I like Oregon in the late night slate. I'm excited. I mean, I know that was a lot of picks there, but just what I like kind of going along. I haven't locked all those in, but I'm sure as the games go on, I'll start to knock those off the list. Do we want to talk some combo cards maybe before we
just quickly on that Patty brackets? I did jump on and ride with Pat on that one. So we need a big second half from Bama because they need to cover 20.5.
Yeah.
We've got the Zips plus 14.5 and a money line on the North Carolina Tar Heels. Just before we get to the combo cards, there is UFC this weekend. Big Maple has made his selection. And I'll just go back. I kind of wanted to bet on Meatball Molly. He said, don't do it. His pick is Chris Padilla by submission, plus 550, Padilla versus Jai Herbert. And again, this is the biggest no-brainer. If you're betting at Coolbet, even if you're not watching UFC or not really into it, it's the no-brainer bet of the week. It's the bet and get. You bet $25 on one of the fights. Good luck with your bet. Regardless, you're going to get a $25 free bet on Monday. So I always try and, ride with Maple. But I asked him about Meatball Molly. He said he doesn't. Alexia should finish Molly by sub as well. So that's what my pick is going to be. I just locked that in, plus 365 for Alexia by submission over Meatball Molly. And hey, even if I take an L, I'll have the $25 to bet coming up. Fire up what's cooking in the Coolbet combo cards, Jake.
Yeah, one NHL game tonight, so not a whole lot going on, but we will get those lock shop parlays up that we discussed for the NHL tomorrow. I got my parlay for today. We came up short yesterday. I didn't get that Louisville one early, but I did cash Arkansas and Gonzaga money line later in the day. So, it was nice to get the 2-gamer. Unfortunately, the 3-gamer didn't come in. Today I'm going Marquette, Connecticut, and Oregon. 2 Big East teams. I like the Big East. Oregon plays the late one, so that one doesn't get going for another 5.5 hours. You can jump on that with me if you want.
I just locked it in. I'm riding with you.
And then a few more we got here. So Big Friday. This is a Big Ten one. If you want to ride with Maryland -9.5, Illinois money line, and Oregon -5.5. Always weird seeing Oregon in the Big Ten. I don't know how you feel about that, Huss.
No kidding.
It doesn't cross my mind. Like, even when I saw UCLA was a Big Ten team now, it's so weird. But kind of throwback for any High School Musical fans. This one's called What Team? Wildcats. Kentucky Wildcats -9.5. Arizona Wildcats -13.5. That's plus 230 in the combos. And then the Big East Big Beast combo, Marquette, UConn, and Xavier plus 3.5. That's from plus 314 to plus 361. I do like that one. I'm a fan of the Big East, if you haven't already noticed the way I've been talking here about the madness. So I'd probably ride with that one. Obviously, I'm going to ride with myself here, Marquette, Connecticut, and Oregon. What else do we have going on? I had one more. Obviously, our 30% boost for March Madness is still going. If you didn't use your boost for the round of 64 yesterday, still available to you today. No opt-in required. Lock in your favorite bet. Hit the boost button. You'll get 30% on that. You'll get a fresh one tomorrow. You can use it either Saturday or Sunday, and then it resets again for the Sweet 16. We also have the weekend win boost. I think that's 25% for the NHL or NBA all weekend long from Friday to Sunday. Probably good to wait till tomorrow, I'd say, for the NHL. But that works for parlays, singles, whatever you want there. I'm just fired up, Huss. Like, March Madness, it's a great weekend to just plant yourself on the couch and enjoy a little bit of hockey, because we got a ton of afternoon hockey tomorrow, a little bit of basketball, and you might not bet on college basketball all year long, but if there's ever a time, this is the weekend to do it. So enjoy yourselves, bet responsibly, stay cool, as we always like to say. Hopefully your brackets are doing well. I had one buddy yesterday go 14 for 16, and the only 2 he missed on were Gonzaga over Georgia. He had Georgia, which I was shocked by. I was like, the way he picked was pretty incredible. He picked all the right dogs. And what was the other one he had? Sorry, I'm just looking at the bracket here to try to wrap this up. I don't know. Anyways, he was nearly perfect, Huss. It was quite impressive. Like, had Drake, had McNeese. I think maybe he had UC San Diego. Maybe that was the one that he had in Michigan pulled through. So, yeah, he was pretty damn close to going 16 for 16 on the first day. I think I was like 11 for 16. I think Running Man in the chat said he was 12 for 16. So, hopefully you're enjoying your bracket challenges. Hopefully you're getting a little sprinkle on some of these games. And, send me some winners. You guys got winners. Big Maple, you already set me up with McNeese. Send me some winners in the Discord. I'll ride with whatever team ride we're going. That was
nice. I tell you what, I didn't use my 30% boost yesterday, so I fired one up today with a couple of the picks that I actually had. I'm rolling with Michigan State. I actually got a bit better of a number, minus 16.5 for that one. The Connecticut, I'm in at 5.5. I guess that's up to 6.5 now. And then Colorado State at minus 1.5. So that was plus 530 And then nice little plus 30% on the profit parlay. And then I did, maybe inspired by Gitch's 8-game banger yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I did just an 8-game money line parlay. So this is the game is who is gonna blow this? Iowa State minus 1429, Zona minus 1250. I never usually put big favorites like that on, but they were moving the line once we got enough on it. St. Mary's minus 208, Marquette minus 185, Kentucky minus 789, Michigan State minus 2,500, Connecticut minus 250, and the Tar Heels minus 128. So that is an 8-game money line parlay. A couple massive favorites in there, as I said, plus 673. So we got a long day ahead of us, Jake. We got to stay positive. Iowa State's now kind of in control. They're up 27-16. And just as we finish up, for those of you that are driving around, listening to the stream on EST, wondering about the brackets, Baylor is up by 9 on Mississippi State right now.
Mm-hmm.
Bama, they've just kind of tipped off in the second half. Bama's up by 5. And midway through the first half, Iowa State, 27-16. 1 o'clock tip-off. If you want to get in the next 5 minutes, Colorado State, 1.5 point favorites as the 12 seed over Memphis. And our first look at Duke in the tourney, 150, basically in just under an hour. Duke against Mount St. Mary's. Our hockey picks for tomorrow, we'll get those up right away. Keep your eyes out on the combo cards. Take advantage of the 30% profit boost. And as always, bet responsibly and stay cool. Jake, have a great weekend, buddy. An awesome week. And I guess Dusty's away for a few more days, so we'll get the band back together for a full weekend recap on Monday. It should be fun.
Sounds good. See you, Huss.
Take it easy, everybody. Good luck this weekend. Thanks for hanging out with us. I'll be firing it up on Winnipeg Sports Talk in just a couple minutes over on our channel. In the meanwhile, send you back to ESTHQ for more on Edmonton Sports Talk.